Back with Middle East Now, Saudi authorities released the youngest political prisoner who was only 13 years old when he was arrested for participating in a bike protest during the Arab Spring. With us now is Wajeeh, journalist and international human rights activist, joining us from the United States. Good evening to you.
Good evening. Thanks for having me.
It sounds like a strange case, wouldn't you say? 13-year-old kid?
It is very much, yeah, it is. This is not the first case of its kind, actually. During the Arab Spring, like you were saying, Qatif, in the Qatif region, the Shiites were protesting, demanding the end of a systematic oppression and discrimination against the Shia minority there. Of course, a child, one of them is Murtaja Qureiris, was there with his friends and his brother that was shot and killed later that day on that protest in November of 2011. During the Arab Spring, they were, of course, chanting death to al-Saud, as many of the protests were chanting around the Arab Spring. This was foreseen as a very wrong move by the Saudi government to arrest a child that was detained in Bahrain. 3 years later, after the protest, his father was arrested, his brother was executed. Later on in 2013, the 2018, the United Nations pleaded with the Saudi government that not to execute 6 boys for alleged involvement as well in the Arab Spring, and they were all executed later on. The Saudi government executed 7 boys later on as well, just for being involved in the Arab Spring, and no one has done anything about it. Just because they're a member of the Shia community, they are automatically claimed as terrorists. Of course, the Iranian government sees themselves as the protectorate of the Shia community, and the Saudi government is always going to throw that against the minority in Saudi Arabia that they are involved and connected to Iran. Meanwhile, they have been robbed of their land, robbed of their freedom of speech, and robbed of any opportunity of employment in Saudi Arabia. A child being sentenced to death is just one of cases that I know. One of my personal friend, his brother was executed at the age of 17 just before being involved in that protest. It is just insane how to see a government dealing with children, placing them in prison. This person entered the prison at the age of 13, and now he's a 21-year-old leaving prison, spent most of his life in a Saudi prison in an isolation, in torture rooms, where he was forced to sign a confession that led to his sentence to death sentence. I think this is coincidental with the President Biden visit to Saudi Arabia, where every time we see the Saudi government.
So I wanted to ask you, do you expect any of this to be raised, mentioned, alluded to during Biden's visit?
I think this is kind of a down payment, certainly, to the Biden administration, as the Saudi prince, MBS, have been long trying to set an appointment with the Biden administration. And now as Biden is trying to put an influence on the prices of gas, the U.S. administration also must have some demands, including the freeing of political prisoners, especially kids that have nothing to do with terrorism or terrorist acts. So, yes, I think it should be on the Biden agenda. It might have been a move to impress the Biden administration, but I don't think the Saudis are willing to budge much on human rights issues.
Right. I don't think Biden will press on this either, right? We know how it works.
Sadly, it's not going to be on his top of the list. I don't think so. I would hope it would be, but I think on the top of the Biden administration is going to be the oil prices and negotiating his relationship with MBS after the death of King Salman. He is not in good health. We know that he is on his deathbed. So it's very important for the U.S. administration to make sure that their connection with the Saudi government is strong after the death of King Salman. Again, I would hope to see the U.S. government put the human rights issues first, but I sadly can't see that happening.
Not at this time, at least. Thank you very much, Wajeeh Lion.